All right, so today we're going to talk about ghillie suits. And let's say you want to make one. All right, they do take a while and they require a lot of supplies, a lot of time. All right, first we're going to go through the supplies that you need. First, you're going to need a BDU jacket. So I'm on my second one. I'm going to go with desert camo, old school. You're gonna need some flat camouflage paint. I recommend Rust-Oleum, it's the best. Box cutter double hook blade, oil Sharpie. You're gonna need a ton of this shoe glue. I recommend the clear, unless you're doing a forest ghillie, then you can get the black, but really nothing is black in nature. Dirt is even brown, so I go with the clear. It's easier to spray paint anyway. You're gonna need an old A bag, so a canvas bag. I don't have one here, but this is what it looks like. It's the shit that you pack your stuff to go on deployment with. And then you're also gonna need one, maybe two of these, depending on how big you are. Just yoga mats, the thick ones. All right, we're gonna use this for padding on the chest and legs. All right. To make a full suit, you're also gonna need a hat, and you're gonna need a few of these mesh bags. All right, just a laundry bag. It's mesh. We're gonna cut it. We're gonna spray paint it, and then we're gonna start putting it together. All right. You do boonie hat. You could do pants. I usually start with the jacket and work my way to the hat. Pants are the last thing that I'll do. They take probably the least amount of time. The hat is what takes the longest, especially if you have a long veil. And I'm going to show you what that looks like right now. So this is my hat and veil that I made last year. And as you can see, the veil will go out in front. And I have clear view here with the netting. All right, now what this looks like is with the rifle. The veil goes over the scope. The scope comes up to the eye. All right. So as you can see, the only ghillie that I have on the actual rifle itself is the front of the scope here, over the level, and the barrel. That's it. Everything else the veil will cover. And same thing with the binoculars. If you really want to be high speed, I recommend getting some of this flex tape. You can get it on Amazon, it's a couple bucks. And you can tape your scope up with it. You just get an old piece of cardboard, cut the cardboard with just a small little square in it. You keep looking through, make sure that the square is perfectly centered, and you won't even be able to tell that cardboard's there. Take that tape, wrap it around, and then put a little bit of a veil over it. It just limits your glint. Other things that you're gonna want are small rubber bands so that you can weave them in and out of the netting. So what that will look like here is, and you can barely see them, but right here, they're what hold the actual natural camouflage in place. So, and out in the wild, you can't see them here. I got an open one, so I can put anything I want in that. And if you don't want to use them, you just cover them with jute. All right, not sure if I said the most important thing for a ghillie suit is the jute. And the jute is the strings on the back. So you're gonna wanna have plenty of that, plenty of different colors to choose from. So these are my more desert options that I have. I do have some greens and grays and light greens if I want to add to this. Once we put this together, we're going to go outside. We're going to drag it through the mud and rocks and shake it up, and it's going to get that naturally frayed look. So as you can see, let's pull some off here. This is really bright, and you can see it very well. You could definitely see the difference, how bright it is compared to this one here that's dark and blends in more to the natural camouflage. All right, I don't sew, so I take my suits to a seamstress prior to putting the jute on the back and have them sew pockets. I'll have them sew the pads on after I glue everything down. All right, so let's just get started with the first thing here. And I've already kind of started it a little bit. So you're gonna wanna get one of the old school jackets, or the, whatever color you want underneath, it doesn't really matter. The first thing you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna take these pockets off. Why? Because you're gonna cover them with padding, so you wouldn't be able to use them. So you're gonna take them off and you're gonna sew them on the inside so that you can reach in, grab your dope book or data sheets or whatever you need, maybe spare rounds or anything really, but you're gonna put your pockets on the inside. So two are gonna go on the inside at breast level, and then you're gonna have the other one on the shoulder, and it's gonna be angled so that if you're laying down you can open. All right, I recommend not getting the Velcro. I mean, it's gonna make noise when you're in the woods, so I like the old school buttons. Those are the easiest to use, I think. I personally like them better anyway. And when I was in the Army, we had the Velcro, and it was extremely loud. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna cut these real quick. So if you have a seam ripper, that's fine too. I just don't have one, and I'm too cheap to spend the like $17 on Amazon or $7. I don't know how much they cost. I have plenty of these laying around, these double hook razor blades. So, and they fit right into an actual razor blade box cutter. So it's real simple. You're just gonna go along the seam. As you can see, I already started here. You're just gonna go along the seam nice and slow. If you put a little hole in it, it's really not a big deal because you're gonna be covering this area anyway with the pad, and you're also going to be covering it with the canvas with your A-bag. You're gonna cut the A-bag to fit nice and neat over the padding that you have had glued down. Why make a ghillie suit? Well, I mean, there's plenty of reasons. I was actually talking to my boss about this. I mean, just to have, they're good. You can use them for hunting. You can use them for when the end of days come, depending on what you believe in. If that's a purge-like scenario, or if that's a civil war scenario, or if that's another country decides to get rambunctious and attack the United States, whatever. I mean, really, whatever you want. I enjoy it. For me, it's peaceful. It's relatively quiet. I like to do it whenever my wife is sleeping and my kid is sleeping. It's quiet. I enjoy the quiet now. One of my favorite sayings is it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. And I'm sure you could tell I'm not quite a prepper, but I am prepared in case something happens. I've got enough supplies to last me a little while until I need to go out and resort to other methods of obtaining food and weapons and ammunition or what have you. But for the most part, this is just more of a hobby. All right. I haven't sold one yet because like I said, they take a lot of time. And I have a few buddies that are asking me to make one for them. I think I have about 100 hours in my other ghillie suit, which I'll show you here in a second. I don't have the pants down here in my basement, but I do have the jacket. So let me take a little break here and show you the back. So it doesn't have to be perfect. And I used wide netting on this one. As you can see, it's, you know, it's definitely a little different. The reason that there isn't anything up here is the veil. The back of the boonie hat covers that right there. And you don't want it to be too thick. You want it to be just enough that somebody could walk past it. And as you can see, it looks like it's been drugged through the mud. I actually put it in a pretty heavy duty laundry bag and drag it behind my quad through the mud for like a half hour. And let it sit outside and drip dry. And then it has that naturally worn, muddy look. It also smells a little bit, so animals aren't smelling you in the woods if you're laying there, if you're using it for hunting. So continue ripping here. Also, some guys, they're actually going to cut a hole in the back of the jacket right here, and they'll glue it. They'll glue a piece of mesh on there. Because whenever you're laying down in the prone, you're going to get hot, real hot, and that mesh allows the air from your back to escape. And you can't really see it on there, but on that one I do have it. I'm not going to put it on this one. This is, you know, more for fall, whenever you live up in New England, and leaves being on the ground, it's going to be wet. Try to conserve body heat for this one. If you want, you can actually sew a camelback pouch into the back and then sew the netting around it. That way all you have to do is slip the bladder in. I'm not a big fan of that. I've seen it done before. Well, that's personal preference. All right, now let me just show you something here real quick. As you can see, I got a little hole right there. But like I said, there's gonna be padding on here on the front, so it doesn't matter if you have little holes. I'm actually gonna take a break here for a second and show you the front of my other one, so you can see exactly what I mean if you're like a visual learner. So see how this has pads on it? That way whenever you're laying down, you're not getting soaking wet or freezing cold. You know, and this canvas is pretty good. So as you can see, it's all sewn together. And there's actually a piece of that yoga mat. It's custom fit to here. So you're gonna cut it to exactly how it fits. And you're gonna glue it on with that glue. Then you're gonna take the canvas, you're gonna glue the canvas on, and then you're gonna have a seamstress, or you're going to sew around the edges. And then that's what it's gonna look like. So whenever you put it on, it'll be nice and tight. So here you can see actually the vent in the back, so you can see straight through, and this will let the body heat out. Also, you can see here, I got a pocket on the inside. This time I'm gonna go with the pockets this way. When I told the guy who was making this for me, he was sewing the pocket in the first time, I told him just go straight up and down, and I realized that I needed it either canted or I needed it completely sideways afterwards. Okay, let's get back to cutting. Almost done here with this fourth pocket, and once we're done with the fourth pocket, then we can actually get started on laying the yoga mat out and figuring out where to cut the size of the chest plates. Now I do recommend being gentle with your seam ripper or your double hook. You could probably just do it with a regular razor blade, but I've never tried that. So the reason I say be careful is yeah, it's okay if you put a hole in it, but you don't want to make too big of a hole. And just take your time. This is something that either you're going to use for hunting, or you're either going to use for hunting animals or hunting people. So either way, you want it to be professional and not look super terrible. So just take your time. Like I said, it's one of those things that it takes a lot of time to make this anyway. So just enjoy it for what it is. Guys train a long time to make these. I myself did not go to sniper school, but I watched plenty of videos and kind of pieced together what I wanted mine to look like. I've read plenty of books, and I've kind of figured out the trade secrets from some of these guys. If you watch enough videos on YouTube, you can piece together what a lot of guys like and what some guys like, and what works and what doesn't. But they're never just going to come right out and tell you how to do it. So I figure if there's any enthusiasts out there like me that don't have the time to sit down and watch a ton of YouTube videos, then maybe this will help you. Plus, I watched all those videos before I had my kid, and now I barely have any time. So I actually have some time off of work, and my wife and kid are sleeping, and I soon won't have that much time again because she's pregnant for a second time. So my time is going to go from about 6 minutes a day of my own to about 3, maybe 2. We'll see. My son is quite a handful, but best thing that ever happened to me. So, and for those of you that asked, no, I did not go to West Point. I did not play football for them. I'm just a huge Black Knights fan. I was an Army officer. I was an artillery guy. Loved the job. Loved my soldiers. They were great guys. Loved most of the guys that ended up working underneath me. But I did not like being an officer. So for those of you that are thinking about doing it, just know that it's extremely competitive, and it's not competitive because guys are really good at their job. It's competitive because the way that the Army has their rating structure set up, it makes it extremely difficult for battalion commander to give high ratings to all of his lieutenants. And if you have a battalion commander like I did, who played favorites for guys that went over to his house and drank with them, and guys that put in the energy kissing his ass instead of doing their job, they're the ones that get promoted. So anyway, enough about that. So we just got this 4th pocket off, and we're going to toss that over to the side. And now we're going to get the mat ready and possibly make some cuts. Now the next step truly is having those pockets sewn inside. And just because I cut the mat tonight doesn't mean I'm actually going to be able to put it on. So that'll be in a separate video. Okay, so I'm going to hang this up real quick. And you do want to be relatively fragile with your suits. I mean, they definitely get beat up whenever you're in the woods. So, do a little bit of regular maintenance on it. If you see like a hole, or you see, some jute falling off, go ahead, take the time and fix it. Either put a little bit of glue on it and patch, or take a few extra pieces of jute that you have and thread them in. Just keep it nicer. You keep your stuff, nicer your stuff keeps you. All right, so we're gonna lay this out, and we're gonna see what is gonna be the best fit. All right, so I think I told you you need a paint marker. These definitely come in handy. So you're gonna want to get this laid out completely flat. And as you see here, the buttons, remember you can't go over the buttons, especially because the flap will go over the buttons. So you're going to want to go almost right to this seam, right to this bottom seam, and kind of follow the arm line up. And you're going to want it a little smaller than that because you got to remember you're going to end up putting the canvas over that. And they don't make tan A bags or canvas bags. They only make green, so we're going to use some of this. I mean, it doesn't really matter. You're going to be on the ground, so this is what it's going to look like. These are actually elbow pads from my last suit that I didn't end up putting on, but probably a good idea if you want to make them. Okay. So when these mats are rolled, right, I like to put the like rolled side down, because if you put it up, it's gonna roll up on you. At least this way, it's gonna be relatively where you want it. All right, so I'm gonna go here. Okay, so that looks pretty straight. And we're gonna make a cut roughly that big, and we're gonna cut that off. Okay, so hopefully this is a correct cut, because having to buy more than 3 of these things suck. They are 25-30 bucks a piece, and the thicker you go, the more expensive they get, except for like the girls that get those really high-end ones that are ridiculously expensive. All right, so now you're going to want to take your box cutter, and you're just going to want to follow that line, and you're going to have to do it a few times, because these don't like to rip that straight or that deep at first. I'm sorry. All right, got my line cut. Put my stool here. I'm going to hang this up real quick. Okay. So we're going to cut this now. So you're just going to cut right on the white line. I'm actually just going to cut right beside it. I'm going to move my mat here because I don't want to cut through this as well. So other things that you could use this for are, if you're a kid, you could use it for paintball or airsoft or whatever you guys play, hide and go seek, I don't know. But more than likely, just to buy the materials is a couple $100, because you got to buy the jute, you got to buy the BDU top, you got to buy the hat, the veils, or the mesh netting for the veil, the spray paint, the yoga mat or yoga mats. Depending on how big you are, maybe 1 or 2 canvas bags. If you mess up, you're going to end up needing 2. You can get what you need out of 1, but you got to know what you're doing and take your time. I almost had to use 2 on my last one, but I got lucky and realized before I cut that I made a mistake. And you're going to want to cut that canvas bag with a good pair of scissors. So what I'm saying is, I'm guessing you're probably not going to be a kid making this, using it for paintball or whatever, because the stuff needed just to make it is a couple $100. And then if you take it to a seamstress to get it sewed, you're talking another $200. So I think my last suit I have about 400 in it. And like I said, my wife's like, I don't know why you need that. It costs money. There's a lot of stuff that she buys that costs money that I don't think she needs. But if shit ever hits the fan, I'm glad I have it, and glad I have it ready to go and not need to make it. So, and depending when you're watching this video, whether it's right after I put it up or whether it's 5 or 10 years in the future, currently what's happening in the world is Ukraine is still being invaded by Russia. Hamas has attacked Israel. China is speaking of invading Taiwan. There's tensions with Iran. Today it's 28 October or something like that, 29 October 2023. We're going to keep going. We're almost done here with this first cut. And it might need to be recut. You can cut just a little bit big. That way you can always go down. But if you cut too small, you really can't add to it. Okay, so again, take care of your stuff. So I know this is done. I'm not just going to throw it down on the floor and roll it back up. And just put it off to the side. That way I also know where all my stuff is at all times. Okay, now we're gonna cut off the little round piece for the arm, so for the shoulder. And as you guys can see, that's really big, so we're gonna end up cutting that again. But I did cut it big, like I said, so that I can make it a little smaller if need be. I think with my last suit, before I took it and drug it through the woods, and when it was all new and clean, I sat down and played Call of Duty, and it was the best game I ever played. Nobody could see me. All right, now you're probably asking yourself, okay, do we paint this? No, we don't paint this. This goes underneath the canvas. So when I showed you on the other suit, the canvas, this is what's underneath there. And, you know, it's a half-inch thick maybe. You can get really thick ones, but I don't know. I think that this is plenty. I wouldn't get a really thin one because it's not going to offer as much protection. Remember, you're going to be crawling around. You're going to be laying on the ground. You want something relatively soft to lay on, especially if it's going to be cold. This is going to eat up some of that weather, depending on how long you're out there or how long you're in the prone. Okay, so garbage, don't need that for anything. All right, so pull this back down, and we're just going to see where we're at here. See how much we need to cut off. So, all right, so we're gonna cut off a little bit more. So as you guys can see, let me move you so you can see here. All right, that's what it looks like. But we're gonna need to cut a little bit more off. So we're gonna actually take a little bit off here. And this is where you can start to get a little bit more precise. As you can see, it's a kind of a curved line. I'm not gonna want to take too much off the sides here, but I do want to take a little bit. Okay, so this is what my new line looks like. And as you can see, it's kind of curved, so it's going to go up towards the collarbone and curve around this way. And we're not going to go straight up. So those are the new cuts. And just follow that line. I mean, if your blade gets a little bit of paint on it. It's not a big deal. They're relatively cheap at Home Depot. I bought like a 100 pack for 10 bucks. So leave some comments. Let me know what you guys think. You know, if I'm doing this all wrong or jacked up, or hey, I was a sniper in the Army, do this, or you know, it was Marine Corps sniper or SEAL sniper or whatever. Do this, or you suck, whatever you want to say. You're not gonna really bother me too much. I've been called everything under the sun. I was formerly a football coach for one of the high schools around here, and I was the type of coach that I like to give my players a hard time, goof around, have fun with them, work hard, play hard type stuff. And I was giving one of the kids a hard time one day, and he looked at me and he goes, "Coach, you're a fridge protector." And I about died. I mean, that was probably one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my entire life. Yeah, I mean, I've been called fat or whatever before, and that doesn't really bother me, but fridge protector, that was funny. So Ivan, I'm not going to put his last name out on here, but Ivan, if you ever watch this video and you know you called me that, I appreciate that. That was a good one. And I have a good sense of humor, I think, so I enjoyed that. Okay, so as you can see, that's rounded off now, and that's going to come right down. It's going to fit just like this. And we're going to cut off this other side now. And it doesn't have to, I mean, like, you know, I have the angle is rounded, but I'm probably just going to take a triangle off here. So it's a little bit easier. That's really not going to make too much of a difference. You know, 1/8 of an inch or whatever. So. All right. So we're going to get this off. You guys can fast forward through this part of the video if you want. Just a heads up, if you're cutting just little pieces off, like I am now, just this little strip, it's relatively a lot harder than cutting through the big strip. Just it pulls a lot more, and as you can see, the edge is a little bit rougher than the original edge here. I know it's probably a little hard to see, but just take my word for it. You're gonna have to hold it down a lot more. And don't just pull at it like I just did. I wanted to see how far it was, because see, it already started to kind of like come apart there, and I don't want it to come apart. I want it to come apart as a whole unit and not as just little pieces. Try to get that edge as straight as possible. I don't recommend doing this on like a kitchen table, because I mean, I'm driving the knife actually into the wood of my workbench. I mean, I don't mind, because I'll fill it in later after it gets really cut up, and just stain it with some cheap stain. But right now it's fine. I mean, that's a workbench. That's kind of what it's for. So. But the guy who owned this house before me actually built this bench. It's really nice. It's got shelves in it, and there's drawers and stuff underneath. So he did a nice job on it. All right, so we're almost done with the cut here, with this straight cut. Okay, now we're done with that. Let me get this little corner here. Okay. All right, so on here, this is the right side of my body. So I'm gonna write on the front of this and on the back. All right. I'm gonna write right chest. All right, right chest, and this is the front. And then on the back, I'm just gonna write back. All right, back to the top. So, all right. All right, for those of you that have a sense of humor, this is what I'm talking about. Front towards enemy. For those of you that know what that is, leave it in the comment section. Clack, clack. All right, so this is what the right side looks like. And then probably going to end up actually cutting a little bit of this off because it's pretty long. But we'll see whenever I put it on and possibly pin it to me. All right, we can do the left side, and it's going to look the exact same. So I'm going to do it on here, but you guys don't have to watch. You can just fast forward. Now you can just mirror this to the other side here. You know, you can just kind of do one of these numbers, but you got to remember that you're going to want to do it like this so that this side stays out. And so go about there. Let's need a curve to a straight. Let's see if that's about relatively the same size as the other one. Yep. And see what I mean here. So if I were to just mirror it, this would not be on the front. I would have two rights, so you'd have to do it on the back side. So you'd want to make that a left. Or I'm sorry, you'd want to flip it upside down. I just like doing it this way because it's definitely the easiest for my brain to comprehend. You would say, I think you being a field artillery officer, you'd be able to do math and figure out you need to flip that. You would think. One would think. That's why I had NCOs. Good NCOs. And as you can see, I'm pulling this nice and taut. It splits easier. Plus you can see that first line easier. You just got to make sure that you hit that same line every time. I'm just trying to go a little faster on this one because I think we're at like 40 minutes already. It's way past my bedtime. I'm sleepy. Okay. Now I'm deep enough that I can start to pull and it's going to just run down the line. I know I said don't do that on the other ones, but don't do it whenever you're like a quarter of the way down. So if you're almost all the way down, that's fine. You do get a straighter cut though, as you can see, like this right here. That's where I pulled, and all this was straight cut. So I did exactly what I told you you shouldn't do, and came and bit me in the ass, but not that bad. Okay, let's roll this back up. Another thing that you're gonna want to have is a vacuum of some kind. You're gonna get shit everywhere. So I usually just clean my workstation up after I'm done. All right, let's see how this mirrors up. Okay, see how this is the back, and now this is the back. So we're pretty close here. Yeah, we're actually really close. So we're just gonna want to take a little bit off of here, and we should be good. Damn, that came out good. You did a solid job on that. Okay. All right, so we're gonna cut this. And it's gonna be that same curved angle as the other one for the arm. And this will go here, right? So we want that curve right here. So this is the brand that I used. What is it? It's not Flamingo. Flamon. I don't know. It was relatively cheap. I've had it for a while, so I don't know. I probably bought it on Amazon. I've been putting this off and putting this off because I knew how long it took to make the other one, but after these attacks in Israel, we don't really know what's going to happen, so I figure might want to start now. So Israel doesn't play around. So you guys see any good movies lately? I haven't. My wife wants to take the kid to see Paw Patrol, so that's the next movie that I get to see. Paw Patrol. All right. So this is just going to read the opposite. Left chest, front towards enemy. Okay. And what do we write here? Back. All right, so left chest, front towards enemy. There's that joke again. Back to the blouse. So the shirt or the jacket's called the blouse. For those of you that didn't know, I just wrote top on here, so you know, the top jacket or whatever. But technical term is blouse. So back towards the blouse. So it's gonna look like this. You're gonna sit on your chest like this. Buttons will go right down the middle. Okay. All right, and that's where we're gonna stop for tonight. Upload that second video later, but more to come. Stay tuned. Again, my name's John. Leave me a comment if you guys think I'm doing something wrong or I'm just a shithead. That's fine. You can tell me. You're not gonna hurt my feelings. All right, sounds good. I'll see you guys later.